Let me just start off by saying this. I think it is insane that the best players in baseball can't necessarily play in the WBC. And I get there are business reasons behind that, and we'll talk about that briefly. But the WBC should be a showcase for the sport. And the way that the sport in general has just been trending the last couple decades, the WBC should be a great showcase to be baseball's version of the Olympics, to be baseball's version of the World Cup. But in order to do that, you want the best players playing. And yes, we have a majority of players, and we'll get to the lineups and we'll rank them all. But we need all the best players playing. And especially in Puerto Rico's case, a lot of their top players were not given insurance to play in the WBC. And we can get into all of this another time. But essentially, players need to be insured so that way if they get hurt, the teams they play for, they don't have to pay them, but they still get paid and all of that. I get there's a whole business side. I get it's hard. But still, I think the best players should be playing. This should be a showcase for baseball. And instead, a month out from the tournament, a lot of the talk is players that aren't going to play. And even if they want to play, they can't play. So I just wanted to say that straight off the bat. Let's now talk about the actual tournament and let's talk about the rosters. And despite what I just said, there are a ton of great players in this tournament. There are probably a majority of the best players in the world playing this year in the WBC. So we're going to break down who I think are the best teams, the countries that have the best shot of winning. And we're going to rank them and see who we think has the best roster and who has the best chance. Before we get to lineups, let me just throw up the groups really quick. Similar to the World Cup, similar to FIBA basketball, things like that. We start in group play. So all the countries are in 4 groups. We'll talk about the countries that I think have the best shot in a second. But overall, these groups seem a lot more evenly divided. If you remember back to 2023, there was one group that had Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. 3 of the best 5-6 teams in the world. And all 3 were in one group. Only 2 could make it. That's where we got the loaded DR team. They didn't make it out of group stage. This time it seems a little bit more even. We can kind of already see the favorites. I think Group A, Puerto Rico still has a good chance, although we'll talk about them in a second. Cuba, Canada, they also have good shots. So probably 2 out of those 3 I like in Group A. USA and Mexico are going to be big favorites in Group B. Japan, big favorite in Group C, with either Australia or Korea. Australia has looked good in the last couple WBCs. They will have a chance to make it out of the group stage again. And then Group D will be Venezuela and Dominican Republic, big favorites. Although, shout out Netherlands, some nice MLB and former MLB players on that team. But a way better split. And I think we can kind of guess who's going to make it into the quarterfinals, who's going to be eliminated in the group stage. Although, just like all of these other tournaments, there will be surprises. That's what makes it fun. But I think for the most part, it is pretty set. So of those teams, let's go through who I think has the best shot. And I had 6 teams that I think really had a semi-realistic shot of winning it all. And I say had, not have, because of everything I said in the beginning, and particularly with Puerto Rico. They were hit with the most insurance-related stars not being able to play. And let's just break down their roster. And we'll start with them. Obviously, they still have some big names. Nolan Arenado, he's played for Team USA the last couple times, has Puerto Rican heritage, so he's playing for Puerto Rico this year. Other MLB players as well, so it's not like it's just a bunch of nobodies now. Elliot Ramos looks good for San Francisco. Christian Vasquez, Martin Maldonado, 2 veteran catchers. Guys like Willie Castro, nice utility guy. Eddie Rosario, he's been in big moments. He will be a big part of this team still. But the problem is what's missing. And that is the sad part for really the whole tournament. There's a few other countries that have had problems, but as I mentioned, it's mainly Puerto Rico. And let me show you what it could have been. This is what I'm going to call the possible roster for Puerto Rico, what they could have had. And you'll notice guys like Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor. Those were the 2 big names that just didn't get insurance figured out, and they were not allowed to play. So imagine the lineup that Puerto Rico has. Adding 2 stars is huge, and taking those out is huge. Javi Baez, he wasn't allowed to play because of marijuana that he did a few years ago. That's a separate thing, but again, wish he could be playing. And then Riley Green is someone we will talk about. He has also Puerto Rican heritage. He can play for both Puerto Rico or Team USA. Puerto Rico was making a big push for him, although it sounds like he's not going to play. He may now play for Team USA. We'll talk about that in a little bit. They were also trying to get George Springer, Wasn't an insurance related thing, but he decided not to play. So that's a lot of stars they could have had. And this could have been a really good lineup. Jose Barrios would have been really nice at the top of the rotation as well. Sounds like he may play in the later rounds if they get there, but he's not going to start off. So it would have been a really fun team, a team with some big stars, but then just a lot of big MLB guys. And yet, if we flip back to the roster they do have, I just don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough pitching. I don't think there's enough depth in their lineup that they can really compete. They are hosting the Group A stage, so they will be kind of on their home soil. So I still give them a chance to get out of the group stage, but when it comes to like actually trying to win it all, I think it's tough without your big stars. So Puerto Rico would kind of be my sixth team. They would have been in it, but with the team they ended up with, I don't think it's realistic. So then that leaves 5 teams that I think have a shot. And we're going to go through them. I'm going to start with my 5th team, and that's Team Mexico. I think to me, they are the clear 5 out of this top 5. Still a really good team. And I still like a lot of this roster. Jarren Duran up top, Randy Arozarena. Those are 2 really fun guys to put at the top of your lineup. But then even just going down the mock lineup that I just put together, Aranda, nice young piece for Tampa Bay. Alejandro Kirk, one of the best catchers in the majors. Rowdy Tellez, Luis Urias, 2 MLB veterans who can definitely contribute. Guys like Alec Thomas, Luis's brother Ramon Urias, I think will start as well. Joey Ortiz, a bunch of MLB caliber guys. And so I don't want to take this team for granted, even though they might not just have the big names, and we'll certainly get to the best teams in this tournament, but they have a lot of pieces. The question mark is going to be their pitching. Taj Bradley, Taijuan Walker, Jose Urquidy, Javier Assad. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Taj Bradley is the one that maybe he could be an ace for them. I think he probably starts game 1. He was the former Tampa Bay prospect, ended up getting traded to Minnesota this past season. If you're a pitcher and you get traded from Tampa Bay, I have concerns. So I don't know if he will really ever turn out to be what he thought he could be. But still, maybe he has something to give in this WBC. Taijuan Walker, Jose Urquidy, a couple of veterans that will be able to give some innings, although I don't know of what quality. If they can get pitching, I think this is a good team. And they're a team that made the semifinals last year. So it's not like they're new to this, not like they can't compete. And they have potentially the best bullpen piece in Andres Munoz in this tournament. So that can't be understated. They're a fun team, bunch of MLB guys, just not quite enough to reach the top 4, but definitely a sleeper if you want to consider them. So then, to me, there's a top 4. And I'm going to start just in alphabetical order. I'm going to show you the rosters, and then we'll talk about how they might match up. So starting off alphabetically, we have the Dominican Republic. They are a baseball country. They've always been known as a baseball country. Tons of big stars coming from there. Obviously, the disappointment in 2023, not making out of the group stage. I think that will fuel this team. And if you look at their roster, it is insane, like genuinely insane what they can put together. I mean, Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, Fernando Tatis. I don't think you can put a better, more talented, and bigger name outfield than those 3. You could argue 3 of the best 10 outfielders in the league on this team, but then you get to the infield. You get Manny Machado, you get Vlad Guerrero, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, one of the more underrated players in the league, Junior Caminero, one of the best young players in the league. And more importantly for them this year, I think they have an ace. And they have an ace in Christopher Sanchez. Pitching was a concern in 2023. Sandy Alcantara, he was on the roster, didn't do great. And they just didn't have an ace they could rely on. And I think they have it this time in Christopher Sanchez, one of the best lefties in the majors. So will they kind of avenge 2023? They have the roster. They have all the stars. We'll talk about how they match up later, but just an insanely talented team. Next up alphabetically is Japan, and they are the reigning champs in 2023. They are also loaded, and they are not only loaded with MLB guys, but also loaded with some NPB guys, some guys still playing in Japan who you might not know that much about, but they're still really good. And there's a reason why Japan has won 3 of these. There's only been 5 WBCs. This is going to be the 6th. Japan has won 3 of them. The US and the Dominican Republic have won the other 2. But Japan knows what it takes, and they are throwing out a similar roster from 2023. The big names are still there. Otani, obviously. Yoshi Yamamoto is going to be their ace. I don't think Otani's going to pitch, but still, as a hitter, he's going to be there. Seiya Suzuki, he's coming in for the first time to round out some of the MLB guys. But then a lot of NPB guys. Kensuke Kondo, he was a big part in 2023. He will be back. Teruaki Sato, not a lot of people might know that name. He won the MVP in NPB last year. And so I have him slotting in at third base, which means a guy that a lot of MLB people have talked about over the last year, Munetaka Murakami, spent a lot of time talking about him in 2023. Finally is going to come over this year in the MLB. Spent a lot of time talking about him. I don't have him in the starting lineup. That's how loaded I think this Team Japan is. And part of that, yes, is the concern of him moving over. How is he going to do? But still, I think that just shows how good of a team this could be. Guys like Murakami, guys like Masataka Yoshida, not in the starting lineup. It's a loaded team. They're going to be right in it. They're the defending champs. So they definitely deserve to be right up here. Next up is Team USA. Another team that is just loaded with talent. Big names. Aaron Judge, big dumper, is playing for the first time. And then you got kind of a combination of young stars like Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, and then some vets. Bryce Harper, Alex Bregman, Kyle Schwarber. The one name you don't see is Corbin Carroll. And I am recording this about a month before the tournament. We just got news that he broke a bone in his hand. He is not going to play. So the question is, who's going to replace him? And I mentioned Riley Green when we were talking about Team Puerto Rico. He is somebody that has dual heritage. So I said he could do both. Puerto Rico was making a push trying to get him. And he decided, supposedly, not to play, but was also still wanting to try to make Team USA. Sounds like that was his goal. And so I think if Team USA needs an outfielder, they only have 3 left on the roster, so they're going to have to replace him with an outfielder. I think it might be Riley Green. I think he might be a logical candidate. Other names, it could be Stephen Kwan, could be Jackson Merrill. I think those are other 2 options that would fit this team. But it has to be some outfielder. There's still lots to choose from. I'm just going with Riley Green. And you can kind of see how loaded the lineup is. You can play around with how you want to put it together. I had Corbin Carroll batting last, so I just slotted Riley Green in there. It's a kind of insane lineup if Riley Green's your 9th hitter. And that's just how loaded this team is. And they're that loaded with all these great hitters, all that. And yet I don't think I've talked about the best part. And the reason why the Team USA is going to be really hard to beat, and that is their rotation. The rotation is something in the past that has been maybe the weak point of this team. It's not going to be the case this year because they got probably, and I don't even want to say probably, the 2 best pitchers right now in baseball, Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal. They got both of them to play for Team USA, and that is huge. And when we talk about who has the best roster, who has the best chance to win, having those 2 at the top of your rotation is insane. And that doesn't even get to Logan Webb, a really good pitcher in his own right, Joe Ryan, Matthew Boyd as well. It's an insane group. They are going to want vengeance against Japan after last time. It's a great team. We'll talk about how they match up in a second, but another loaded team for Team USA. And then that brings us to Venezuela, the 4th team in this really top 4. They are a dark horse to me. I think obviously a lot of people talk about Team USA, Japan, the reigning champs, DR, they have all the big stars. Venezuela, I think, deserves in this top 4. I don't think it's a top 3. They have big names. They have Ronald Acuna Jr., who's going to play. Jackson Churio, one of the best young guys in the MLB. The Contreras brothers, William Contreras, Wilson Contreras, are both playing. You got vets like Eugenio Suarez. You got Salvador Perez still there. So they got enough depth and enough really good MLB pieces. And they also have a good pitching staff. I think Ranger Suarez, having him play is huge. Pablo Lopez is another good MLB pitcher. And they've got enough guys in the bullpen that this is a very well-rounded team. Maybe not as big of stars as the first 3 teams I named, but I think they're just as good. And they gave Team USA a really good run in the quarterfinals, I believe, last time. So they didn't make it to the Final 4. They are going to be pushing this year. And I think they are going to be right in it, despite maybe not having as big of names as the other 3. So those are the 4 teams I think have the best shot. It's the 4 teams you would expect. Team USA, Team Japan, the 2 finalists last time, Dominican Republic, Venezuela. Those are the 4 best rosters. They have the biggest stars. And importantly, they are the most balanced. I don't think this is the case where they're just big stars, but when they come together, they won't be as good. These are the 4 teams to watch. And I would put Mexico as kind of the sleeper 5th team as well. I would be shocked, and the whole world would be shocked if it's not one of those 4 teams or one of those 5 teams if you think Mexico can make it as well. So the question is, who has the best shot? If I'm going to pick, and I'll give my pick for best roster and who I think we end up getting a Team USA, Team Japan rematch. The difference, though, this time is Team USA has those aces at the top. And I think Paul Skeens, Tarek Skubal is going to be the difference for Team USA. They have plenty of guys in the lineup. Somebody will contribute. They'll probably have different guys each game. But having a rotation that you can rely on and counteract these great lineups that these other countries have, I think that puts it over the top for Team USA. And to me, Team Japan is just as good as they were in 2023. I think they get close again. We get a rematch. But instead of Ohtani Trout, the big matchup we got at the end of the 2023 WBC, I think it's the opposite. I think at some point we will get a big, Tarek Skubal Ohtani matchup or a Paul Skeens Ohtani matchup in the finals to win the WBC. And I think Team USA gets revenge. So that would be my pick. I think it's Team USA and Team Japan. The Dominican Republic is another great choice. And if you think they're going to be fueled by what happened last time, I wouldn't doubt that. And they're the only other team that has won the WBC, so they know what it takes. They would come in 3rd. I would have Venezuela 4th, and then Team Mexico 5th. Those are the 5 teams that I think has a chance. It'll still be fun, obviously, to see maybe Puerto Rico can still pull it together. Maybe a team like the Netherlands or Australia or Canada. One of these teams that maybe doesn't have a ton of big stars, ton of big MLB guys, but it's still fun to watch them compete. So there's always going to be one team that kind of sneaks in. There's 8 teams that end up making the quarterfinals. So there will be a couple teams to join those 5, but it's really those 5. If that's what it's going to come down to. We got, I think, a month until the WBC. So still some time. I wanted to do this early as we kind of get into baseball season. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's one of the better sporting events of the year. And it's why I'm so frustrated that not the best players can play, because this should be a showcase of baseball. And it still is. And I would encourage everybody, even if you're not a baseball fan, to watch. But we want the best players. And if the best players want to play, we need to figure out a way to let them. But again, that's for another time. We started and ended this video talking about it. I'll spend more time talking about the business side of it. But for now, let's just enjoy the baseball. In a month, we'll get 2026 WBC. I'll be covering all of it. I'll be covering more baseball, especially now that football season is ending. Baseball season is starting up, so more baseball stuff coming. So if you like this video, plenty more stuff coming in the MLB and in baseball this next year. So make sure to subscribe. I'm going to do an update to my MLB trade value rankings, probably sometime before the season starts. So stay tuned for that. Lots of other baseball stuff to come as well. So if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.